Part 3 of Chapter 6 review will cover user-defined functions. In other words, functions that programmers can design for themselves. There is no way that every conceivable function can already be available, so C++ allows programmers to create their own, which is called user-defined functions. These functions can be put together like building blocks to create a more large, complex program. You will also learn about value returning functions. These functions end with a value that needs to be sent to either another function or to function main. So let's check out the details. As stated earlier, functions can be created by the programmer or they can be predefined and available for use. Once a programmer creates a function, it can be used over and over again. It can be used multiple times in the same program or even saved for later to be used in some other program. Programmers can create two basic types of functions. The first is a value returning function. This means that a value will be sent out of that function using a return statement to be used somewhere else, like in function main. Just like we use return 0 at the end of every function main, a subprogram or a function outside of main can use the return statement to send a value back to function main or some other function. The value does not have to be 0. If you're going to use a value returning function, you have to include the correct header file, which means an include statement will be used. So to use a value returning function or a function that sends a value to another function, you must include the appropriate header file in your program using the include statement. Now you have to know which header file the function that you have is going to be in. You also have to know the name of that function that you're going to use, how many parameters that it has, if it has any at all, the data type of each of those parameters. Are they double? Are they integers? What are they? And the data type of the value returned. Is it a double or an integer or what? When you use a value returning function, you can do one of three things with that value. You can save it to a variable for later calculations. So that's like this. We're using this function right here and we're saving that value to x, and then we can use x later on. You can use it in a calculation. Here we have it, right? Here's our function, and then we multiply it by pi to get a value. So here it's being part of a calculation. Or you could print it, so you could put it to the screen or to a file if you wanted, okay? A value returning function is used in an assignment statement, so that'd be number 1. Here it is here, and we assign the value. So that's the assignment statement, okay? As a parameter of a function, see radius here? Here, these two are the parameters for the power function, right? And radius and 2.0, these are parameters. Radius is a variable, so it can change value, okay? As a parameter in a function or in an output statement, or putting it to a file or to the screen with cout, or you learned about how to put things to a file with iStream, header files, etc. Okay? A value returning function, or a function that has the return statement that carries a value, is used or called, we use that term in C++, called, with an expression. You have a certain expression you have to use to call it. Both type of user-defined functions must include the code that accomplishes the task. So you have to have in your function what it is it does, right? You have to have the coding to make it do the thing that you want that function to do. This slide discusses how to design your own function. First, you need a heading. This is the first line of the function and is often referred to as the function header. So here we have integer, absolute value, integer number. This is your heading. if you saw it in coding, it would look like this right here. The header. Okay, this is your function header. You have what kind of data it is, the function name, and then the parameter that goes with the function name. Okay? The formal parameter is a variable declared in the heading. Okay, so it's in the header. So right here, this parameter, this is your formal parameter. So you need to remember that term. It's the one that's in the header. The actual parameter is when you actually call the function. We don't have an example with this particular coding right here, but we did earlier. So like here we have x equals pow parentheses u comma v. This is power, right? This is the base and exponent. We are calling this function by putting it in a statement like this. We're calling that function. And in this case, this is your actual parameter because it's being used in a call of a function. You're using the function. This is the end of part 3 of chapter 6. In part 4, you're going to learn more about the power function. You're going to learn more about value returning functions and how to call or use a function. See you there.